we have to realize is we actually have these small moments of harvest throughout our entire life, throughout our entire journey, and I don't want you to miss them. That is the magic in the mundane moments. Because the harvest season is rarely this big, shiny thing. So embrace the harvest, enjoy it, have gratitude for it, soak it up, really receive the rewards and the abundance of it. Hey sis, welcome to the Sisterhood, Soul, and Strategy podcast, a space for women building businesses that feel as good as they look. I'm Steph, a small town girl from Wisconsin with big dreams to positively impact the world. This podcast is from the heart, where we share real conversations about building intentional businesses that thrive in every season. And the best part, we talk both soul and strategy, and we wrap it all up in sisterhood. Because let's be real, business is more fun in community. So no matter your age or stage of small business ownership, you stumbled upon this podcast for a reason. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And today we are diving into part 4, the final part of the season series, and talking all about the harvest season. And I want to start with a quote in the beginning of this part in the book. I don't think each of us receives one harvest only, an after-death sort of payment for services rendered. I think we all get a lifetime full of little harvests, those small miracles that stand out from the rest of life when we are one with nature, each other, and ourselves. Janine Wosley Basgard. And I love this. I actually needed to read this quote today to myself because I was kind of like not feeling like recording this podcast episode because I don't feel like I'm currently in a harvest season. But I think part of that is because I am upper limiting myself right now. And that is a big theme in this part of the harvest season. So I want to talk about it. This is really important to talk about because as soon as we start to maybe get a glimpse of what that harvest season looks like, and that could be a goal that you've been working towards for a long time, your business finally, getting the clients and the income rolling in, whatever that version of harvest that you have wanted and desired and worked towards for so long starts to become real and real life, oftentimes it feels too good to be true. And the first sentence in one of the chapters in this part of the book is, do I deserve this? So often we kind of start to self-sabotage when we find ourselves nearing a harvest season, or maybe we're in the middle of it and then we look around and realize, oh my gosh, I have everything that I wanted. And then we start to almost create problems in our own life. So it's funny because I'm currently rereading a book that I referred to in my own book called The Big Leap. And this book is all about what he refers to as upper limiting. It's where our thermostat of what we are used to and comfortable with gets higher, more towards that harvest feeling of satisfaction. We actually start to cool ourselves back down and bring ourselves, quote unquote, back to normal. And we do that in a lot of different ways. For me, it often comes in like self-sabotage or like talking myself down or out of the thing that I'm actually doing. It could also be an injury. It could be illness. It could be starting a fight or conflict with someone. And when I talk about the harvest season in the book and the energy of the harvest season, it's so many good things. It's gratitude. It's joy and just like peace, being able to actually sit in that season and truly enjoy it and not worry about the next problem or the next storm or the next thing, which I find so many of us actually really struggle to just be present in a harvest season. I know I do. And I have enough self-awareness to understand when I'm starting to sabotage myself, when I'm starting to limit my ability to actually receive the abundance of good things that come from the harvest season. So in this season, while the energy is so good because it's what you've hoped and prayed for and worked towards for so long, there are still challenges. Every season has its challenges, and the challenge of this season is usually boredom or feeling like you should be doing something else. Maybe it's like you're feeling the desire to start something new. Like, I've already reached the goal. What's next? Right? It's like, and what's the next thing? It's the complacency feeling like, okay, this is great, but I want something else, or I want something more, or I want something new. So, those are the challenges of this season as well. And when I take this through the lens of entrepreneurship, or what I call soulpreneurship, the things that we tend to do in the harvest season are not what we should typically be doing. So, when we're in a harvest, what we should really be doing is optimizing our business so that we can further pull ourselves out of the day to day and really sit in that CEO visionary role. But often, what we end up doing is actually going back into the weeds, creating problems, bottlenecking the business. And maybe even our default is just overworking. So we don't know any different, right? And that's where the challenges of the harvest season are actually optimization over overworking. The other things that we really should be focused on in this season, instead of going back into the weeds and doing things ourselves and making problems and bottlenecking, is automations, also delegation and mentorship. We actually, at this point, need to be training up the next level of leaders for our business. That is no longer us. We also should be pouring into our team, elevating them, growing leaders within different levels of the business in whatever way that we absolutely can, to pull ourselves out of the day-to-day hustle and grind. It's also the time where we get to dream again. We get to be the visionary and build out the legacy of our business for the future. So, some of the stories that I share in this part of the book is my bucket list year. It was the year after I stepped away from all the stress and heaviness of my first business, my studio, and I got to dream again. I got to live my life. Yes, I was still working hard, but I got to do things that I wouldn't normally do. I got to spend money on things that I never had money to. My husband and I went on our honeymoon finally 3 years later to Puerto Rico. I was able to buy my brand new vehicle in cash, which I never would have been able to do. I was able to plan and prepare to take a 3-month maternity leave from my businesses, where I was still able to make money. I still had revenue coming in. I had team in place to help me make that maternity leave dream possible, which was something in my previous decade of entrepreneurship I wouldn't have been able to do. So these are some of the stories that I shared in my harvest season, and how even preparing for maternity leave forced me to build a team around my business. So I trained in our first round of Sister Circle certified coaches before I went on maternity leave so that they could run meetings while I was on leave, and not just on maternity leave, but for the future of the business, because I knew even coming off of maternity leave, being a new mom, I was not going to have the same capacity to step in and do all the things that I did prior to running the business. So I was building it for the legacy of the business to grow once I stepped into what I referred to in the book as my mom era. Oh, hey sis, I am just putting on my favorite lip gloss, Small Town Beauty by Asia. This is my favorite color. It's called 23. It's hot pink and I am obsessed. She has so many different fun colors. She has a lip treatments that can nourish your lips. But personally, I'm a lip gloss bestie and I absolutely love the human behind this brand, Asia. Her mission and vision is to make sure that just because we live in a small town doesn't mean we can't have incredible products like this lip gloss. So if you are a small town girly who loves a good lip gloss, you need to check out Small Town Beauty by Asia, and you can use my code to save $5 at checkout. So we had certified coaches who we now refer to as our certified speakers. I brought in Holly as kind of my right-hand woman, helping me lead meetings, kind of run things behind the scenes. And that also allowed me to host Summit 4 months postpartum, which was another piece of my harvest season. And ultimately, it allowed me the space to do so many things, like write the book itself, publish the book, put it out into the world. And even in those last few chapters, I talk a lot about just what it took to evolve and grow. And so much of our business growth goes so far beyond just what you see on the outside. So often, I think we see the shiny milestones of business growth. We see the big team, we see the amount of money flowing in, or the sales being created, the offers, the media to shine a light on our business, all the shiny things that are great milestones, and we should celebrate them. We see them on social. But truly, what it takes to grow a business goes far beyond those milestones. It is within us. And that's why so much of the harvest season has to do with how you speak to yourself and your mental state of being able to actually hold and receive that level of growth, of abundance, of peace. Like, it seems insane to say that most of us don't actually know how to hold our harvest season, but I've seen it over and over again. I've seen it in others. I experience it in myself. Like I said, I did not want to record this podcast episode because I was like, well, I am so far from my harvest season when I compare myself to where I was here. But then I'm like, no, I'm not. And that quote that I shared with you at the beginning of this episode, that's why it's so true, is because life is not just this one big harvest that we're working towards. I think that's kind of the dream that corporate or 9-to-5 jobs build, is like, you're going to work so hard and then you're going to hit your retirement and it's just going to be straight harvest. And that's not how life goes. Some people don't even get to experience that harvest season, because they've spent so much of their life in the planting, growing, and storms before they actually get to soak up the harvest. So what I truly believe is we have these moments of harvest. We have these milestones of harvest all throughout our journey. And oftentimes that's what is motivating us to keep growing, to keep going through the storms, right? To keep planting. We need the harvest seasons because it is what motivates us to keep going. But most of us will not live our entire life, or even the end of our life, or a large portion of our life just in a harvest season. Because if we're growth minded, we're always going to be planting new seeds, growing new things. And if you are pushing the envelope, you are pushing your comfort zone, you will always have some storms along the way. And that is part of life. We need the storms to grow, and we need those storms to push us into the harvest, to keep going. And like I always say, the storms are what make the harvest so much sweeter. And another big thing that I want to share about the harvest season is the ability to find gratitude, to receive your abundance, your growth, your whatever it is that you've called in to your life, to actually accept it and not question it, not doubt it, and not say, I don't deserve this. To actually hold it requires a lot of faith, a lot of trust, a lot of surrender. And if you've read the book, you know the very last chapter in the book is surrender to be surprised. Because so often we have this vision in our mind of what the harvest is going to be, but how many times has it showed up completely unexpectedly? How many times has an opportunity come that you didn't even know it was out there? It came out of left field, and that became a moment of harvest. Too often we are trying to force outcomes. We are trying to create something on our own, but we are co-creators with whatever you want to believe, whether you want to call it universe, spirit, God. I firmly believe we are co-creators with God. We do not create anything on our own. And so the last chapter is kind of hilarious to me now because, you'll read about it, how I trusted my intuition. And throughout the whole book, the theme is trusting your intuition, right? And leaning into your soul and believing in your purpose and co-creating with God. And in the last chapter, I think that I'm having a girl. The entire second half of the pregnancy, I believe I'm having a girl because that's what the ultrasound tech told us, even though my initial intuition was that I was going to be a boy mom. But I was told I was having a girl. I went through the whole second half of the pregnancy, expecting a girl, picking out the name. My husband and I picked Valerie Rose, doing a girl baby shower theme, nursery, all of the things. I journaled to this little girl every single day, only to find out when I was 2 weeks overdue in labor, finally had my baby. And then about an hour after the fact, realized it was a boy. Surrender to be surprised. Now I would take none of that back, right? It was the best story that I could ever have to end the book. And before I went on to maternity leave, I knew I had about one chapter to wrap it up. And I didn't know what that story was going to be yet because I knew it hadn't happened yet. But I never would have guessed that that was the story because it happens to about 1% of people that they get told they're having one gender of baby and then surprise, it's the opposite. And that is why his name is Val. And so I want you to take that kind of hilarious story of my own personal life, of me birthing my human baby, right? Not my business baby, but as a perfect example, even if you go back to my story of Zen and Pao, how I thought that was my dream studio. I thought that this is what I was going to be doing, teaching fitness and yoga, building my team, building my membership for the rest of my life. And that was going to be my path. I never saw real estate as being part of my path. Sister Circle wasn't even a thing when I started my first business. And now, just looking at where I am and what I'm doing, gosh, I am in a harvest season because I love what I do every single day. Hey, I just needed a quick water break from the podcast, and I want to tell you about what's in my water. It is my new current favorite daily supplement, and I drink it. It's called Glossy, and it is not just a great supplement for hydration and gut health, but it is truly changing my skin in the best way. Glossy is skincare that you drink because it impacts your largest organ and your insides. My favorite flavors are the strawberry hibiscus and the watermelon. I add it to my water every single day. So if you are looking for something that is more than just a hydration stick, Glossy is it. And you can get 40% off your first order with my code getglossy.com/Steph Ross. And you can find that link in the show notes. Cheers. And that's really what I want to land this episode with is too often we are constantly striving towards the next shiny thing. We want that harvest season. I want it just as bad as all of you. But we have to realize as we actually have these small moments of harvest throughout our entire life, throughout our entire journey. And I don't want you to miss them. That is the magic in the mundane moments. Because the harvest season is rarely this big shiny thing, because even when we get the big shiny thing, it wears off. We buy the new car. Eventually, it's just our day-to-day vehicle. We buy the new or build the new house, and eventually we start thinking of the next thing that we want. So embrace the harvest, enjoy it, have gratitude for it, soak it up, really receive the rewards and the abundance of it. But don't be so consumed by it that you forget to notice these small magical moments in your everyday life, even when you're in a storm, even when you're in growing seasons, even when you're doing something brand new and you're scared and you're planting. There's still moments of magic. There are still moments of harvest in those seasons. So that's what I want you to remember about the harvest is, yes, we need the big, scary, but exciting visionary goals that the harvest brings and pulls us closer towards. But also don't forget that there are harvests, small, micro, magical, mundane moments of harvest in every single season. And we want to receive them. We want to be present for them. We want to enjoy them. Don't miss them. That is why we're on the business journey. It's not about the harvest season. It's about figuring out who we are and where we're going and what we want and our purpose and learning and connecting with cool people throughout the entire soulpreneur journey. So as we wrap this series, I'd love to just read you a little clip from the end of the book because this is ultimately why I wrote the book. What do I want you to do with this book? Take time to reflect on your own story, then show up and share it. Whether it's with one person or the whole world, you decide. But what is the point of life if we don't find the purpose in it? I've always said that if sharing my own struggles and successes could help one person, having gone through it would have served its purpose. Do the same. Share your story to help just one person feel less alone in their own season of soulpreneurship. How you choose to share is up to you, but don't let the stories of your seasons of planting, growing, weathering storms, and harvesting go untold. You just never know who might be inspired to show up for their own journey and feel less alone in the season they're in. As I close the chapter on this past decade and step into a new cycle and season of my life and business, I reflect on all the ways the journey has shaken me, shaped me, and surprised me, but none of it broke me. I can see now in the rearview mirror how it was all meant to be. Every season prepares you for the next one, so you must learn to embrace the one you are in while looking forward to the future. And that's because your best self isn't found in the future. It's in your day-to-day decisions. It's when you're deciding to show up when it's hard, deciding to stay consistent when you don't feel like you're making progress, deciding to make hard decisions when you know they're the right ones for you, deciding to listen and lean into your intuition. Every day, we make an average of 35,000 decisions. I'm sure glad you chose to listen to this podcast. As for me, I'm embracing this new season of mompreneurship while I look forward to planting new seeds for the future. And plant new seeds, I have. It has been a year since the book launched. I can't believe I'm saying that. A year since Seasons of a Soulpreneur was launched into the world. And in that time, I have certainly planted lots of new seeds. I have been in a very active growing season. I shared that with you pretty vulnerably in that part of the series. And I've gotten a taste of just what storms could be on the horizon as I continue to grow, to push myself. And I really think that if you don't have things that scare you, you don't have any seasons of storms, are you really growing? Are you really challenging yourself? Are you really living up to your fullest potential? So I'll leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this sort of breakdown of the season series part. I thought it was a perfect time to do it with so many people still reading the book, or maybe you read the book a year ago and these lessons and stories are just things that you needed to come back to. Either way, I'm so grateful you're here, sis. I appreciate you. I honor the time that you've taken to listen to this podcast and or read my book. If you haven't yet, go get your copy from Amazon. And I would love to know, what is your harvest that you're either working towards? Maybe you've experienced it, maybe you're in it right now, because I want to celebrate you and cheer you on. So until next time, go soak it up, whatever season you're in. Hey sis, if this episode spoke to you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our weekly conversations that drop every Monday. And would you share this with a fellow sister that needs to hear this message too? If you're craving sisterhood, soul, and strategy in action, I'd love for you to step inside our Sister Circle community, where we gather, grow, and build intentional businesses together in real life and real time. I promise, business is more fun in sisterhood. Until next time, keep leading with soul, honoring your season, and don't forget, I'm always cheering for you.